the office of Congresswoman Michele Bachmann in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, thank you for coming in. It's so great to have PolitiChicks here today. I'm honored.
Yay. I want to say something that millions of people would love to say to you in person, and that's thank you.
Oh,
and I'm going to probably
means
cry.
A lot.
I think I'm going to cry.
That means a lot.
Because
here you go.
Thank you. Where'd you get? Who was that?
I'm a mom. I've got Kleenex. It just comes out of my pocket.
You have been fighting and fighting and fighting for us for many years, and way beyond before you were running for president. You were fighting for car dealerships and talking about gangster politics, and you were fighting. You were the first congressperson to fight Obamacare, and you continue to fight and fight and fight. And you fight alone sometimes, and I want to know what drives you, what gives you so much strength to keep going the way you do and standing up against so much adversity. What is it?
I think the motivation I have is the recognition of this wonderful gift that we've been given. It's actually a positive motivation, and it's amazing the gift that we have in terms of liberty and freedom and opportunity and all the rest. And I think as I've seen that gift chiseled away, and I come out of a state that is a fairly liberal state, and I've seen a lot of attempts to chisel away that liberty, that shocks me, and it offends my constitutional sensibilities. And so I decided to fight back because I saw what was at stake. And I'm a mother. I had 5 biological children with my husband, and then we raised 23 foster children. And I wasn't political, but I saw what was going on in our schools. The federal government was about to impose, or they did impose, in fact, on all local public schools in the country, a federal program on all the states, and they were taking away academics and instead inserting politically correct attitudes, values, and beliefs. And I saw this is a disaster. It's a disaster for kids. It'll be a disaster for businesses. I'm a businesswoman. We started a business from scratch, and it'll be a disaster for them and just productivity in general. So I got involved. We put 5 years of our life into this, and we became the only state in the country that got rid of this government takeover of the local schools. And I saw that even in a very liberal state like Minnesota, you actually can fight City Hall and do something positive. And so I guess I was Pollyanna enough to think you really can do something, and that's why I really believe with everything within me we can repeal Obamacare. And the reason why we can is because the hearts and minds of the people are against socialized medicine. Yeah. They want high-quality health care. We're never going to get it under Obamacare, ever. It's never going to happen. All these utopian dreams are just that. They're going to be dashed against the rocks. And so because the hearts and minds of the American people are with us, I know we can win. All we have to do is just unify, charge up, and we can make it happen.
Mm. So many people are discouraged with the GOP race. I've heard personally from a lot of people who say that they may not vote this year. What do you say to those people?
Well, that would be a disaster, because then we would put on a silver platter a re-election for Barack Obama, and I think that may be something that the Democrats are counting on. I thought we did have the perfect candidate. I put myself into the race, but it didn't work out. I wasn't the candidate. It doesn't matter. The battle remains. I jumped into the race. It was an audacious thing for me to do. I was in my 3rd term as a member of the House of Representatives. I hadn't been in Washington for years and years. I'd been here for my 3rd term. But I was here watching our liberties literally stolen from us through the passage of Dodd-Frank. That's doing to financial services what Obamacare is doing to health care, and Obamacare, and with all of this debt. When I came into Congress, we were $8.67 trillion in debt. This year, 6 years later, we'll double it. What took us 219 years to accrue in terms of debt. This is unbelievable. It's like future shock, the pace that we're losing our liberties and going out of control with debt. And so I thought, because of how profound these times were, I put my name into the race. Well, I didn't win, so what? But the battle remains. And so that's why I'm running for re-election, because I'm still in the battle. It's a different perch, but whoever our nominee is, the people need to choose who that nominee is. Whoever it is, I'm going to get behind. I'm going to help them. I'm going to go around the country and help them. But also, I want to be a unifying voice. Rather than being divisive, I'm going to get behind that nominee and try and help bring together the Tea Party, evangelicals, the mainstream Republicans, together with independents, disaffected Democrats. We can't let Obama have a second term, not because it's partisan, not because it's the Republican team versus the Democrat team, but because we're about a better America, and we're about liberty, and we're about a decent chance for the future. We will not have that under Obama. We know it, and he said as much. He was just recorded saying he's going to have more flexibility after the next election. Well, you know what that means? That means he is going to be out of control. He'll be completely unloosed from the Constitution, and he'll do whatever he wants to do. He's already foretold us. So he's telling the truth to the Russians. He won't tell the truth to the American people about how he views his presidency, but he will tell the truth to the Russians. What does that say to us? I don't care who our nominee is, they will be 1,000 times better than Barack Obama, and I will get behind that candidate.
Yeah. Besides Barack Obama, what do you consider the #1 threat in America today?
Well, I think the #1 threat right now is that under Obamacare, we literally are seeing a change in government for the first time in 225 years. We've been around for 235 years, but in 225 years, this is the first time that we're moving truly away from a constitutional republic, slamming the door shut on a constitutional republic, and effectively we're becoming a dictatorship. In that, we don't elect a president anymore, we elect a healthcare dictator, who we saw with Barack Obama with contraceptives. If you look at this issue, it really wasn't just about contraceptives. It was about the fact that now the President of the United States can order all Americans to purchase a product or service against their will, whether they want it or not, and he can decide which product or service will be offered and at what price. That's unbelievable. I mean, that's a breathtaking level of power. So all the promises he gave us didn't come true. That's very important. But the other threat that we have to realize is that this president has been more dangerous than any other president, perhaps in American history, when it comes to foreign policy. 63% of the American people say that Barack Obama's best feature as president has been how he's dealt with terrorism. Well, I think that's because he took out bin Laden and Al-Awlaki. And while those are technical successes, his strategic blunders on foreign policy just far outweigh anything the president has done tactically. By this president being the only president that's ever put distance between the United States and Israel, he's completely turned upside down the paradigm in the Middle East. No other president has done what this president has done. So we see the rise of Sharia law in the Middle East and the rise of aggressivism, and the terrorism threat couldn't be greater. We're seeing a hyper-kinetic level of terrorist activity, and Barack Obama has a lot to do with that.
Your speech at CPAC was amazing, and you were very strong about the threat to Sharia in America. And how afraid should we be of creeping Sharia, of Sharia getting into our country?
I think the better word, rather than how afraid should we be, is how realistic is it that we see the rise of Sharia, not only in the Middle East, but here in the United States. The fact is, it is realistic. If you look at the threat on our southern border, literally for decades now, the Iranian presence has been growing. Whether it's Venezuela, Ecuador, Belize, Bolivia, the Iranian threat is growing. Many Iranians have been coming into South America, and now they're penetrating our southern border. We're seeing weaponry, we're seeing terrorist elements coming into the United States. This should concern every American, because we saw not too long ago that Iran was in the process of trying to hire an illegal alien to come here into this city in Washington, D.C. and assassinate the Saudi Arabian ambassador. Well, that would have also potentially killed hundreds of innocent Americans in a restaurant in this city, including members of Congress. Also, we saw about a month ago an illegal alien from Morocco strapped what he thought was a bomb on his body, and he was making his way to the Capitol across the street, and he was intending to blow up the Capitol and 435 members of Congress. He was interdicted blocks away from the Capitol by the FBI. But now I'm very concerned, because now representatives from Muslim Islamist front groups have gone to the FBI director and have demanded that the FBI remove from their training materials from the FBI references that deal with Islamist and Islamist dealings in the United States. Now, why would we allow individuals who are affiliated with Islamist organizations to tell our FBI what we can and cannot use in our FBI training materials to train our FBI to keep the American people safe? This is something where we really have to wake up quickly.
Are they going to do that? I don't understand.
They already have. They've already removed those materials. This is something that we have to, that the American people can't abide by. And when I look at the Obama administration, I see every single action that this administration has taken when it comes to dealing with foreign policy and terrorism has been one of unilateral disarmament of this nation. Even today, the President of the United States is calling for reducing our nuclear weaponry by 80%. Okay, now think of this. We have Iran, a third world basket case, trying to nuke up. And if they get a nuclear weapon, we shouldn't delude ourselves. They will pass that nuclear weapon knowledge on to terrorist organizations like Hezbollah, Hamas. It could perhaps get in the hands of Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda affiliates. And then there is no containment of nuclear weaponry. This is an extremely serious issue that we have to pay attention. And Barack Obama is looking at having the United States reduce our nuclear weapons by 80% when Iran is looking to nuke up. This is extremely important, and that's why one very important reason why presidents change the course of history, particularly on foreign policy. And Barack Obama is changing the course of history, not for the better, because he's given Iran the luxury of time to develop a nuclear weapon when we should have been sanctioning Iran, because we knew better. We knew that Iran was actively engaged in seeking a nuclear weapon, and Barack Obama willingly blinded himself from this very real and pervasive and growing threat.
I don't know if you can answer this. Why is he doing this? What are his intentions? Because most of the people that I deal with in my life, they think that his intentions are really evil.
Well, I can't ascribe to the president what the thoughts and intentions of his heart is. No one can. No one knows what they are. All I can say is we can look objectively at what actions the president has taken. And if you go from his very first interview that he gave as President of the United States, it was to Al Arabia Television. His very first foreign policy speech was in Cairo. When he went to Cairo, he invited the Muslim Brotherhood to his speech. President Mubarak of Egypt would never allow the Muslim Brotherhood in. Today, President Obama said also a little over a year ago to Bill O'Reilly in an interview before the Super Bowl, we don't have to worry about the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. They're not organized. They won't take power. Today, the Muslim Brotherhood and even more radical elements control over 72% of the lower house and parliament and will likely have the say over the final leadership in Egypt. It is a profound miscalculation on the part of the president. Every action he's taken has hurt the United States and our ability to be the military superpower of the world and the economic superpower of the world. And instead, he has empowered the Islamist organizations across the world. That speaks for itself, and people have to draw their own conclusion.
I've got mine. Your reelection campaign. I was shocked to hear that you even need to do fundraising, because I would assume that it would be a slam dunk, that everyone in Minnesota would go out in droves and just support you 100%. That's because I live in LA. What can we do to help you?
Well, I'd love to have people go to MichelleBachmann.com and give me the largest donation they possibly can financially and sign up to Phone from Home and help volunteer. You can volunteer wherever you live in the United States. You can phone from home, and there's things that you can do to help volunteer on my race, but you can also give a donation, and you can encourage other people to donate. I really need that help. When we ended our presidential campaign, there still are obligations that remain from that, but also I need to fully fund this reelection campaign. I have now 2 Democrat opponents that have announced, and a third one is about to announce, who is a self-funder. There will be no limit to what the Democrats will spend on my race. Yeah. I have been the #1 target of Speaker Nancy Pelosi to defeat. They have spent upwards of $20 million to defeat me. And I have had to raise more than any other member of Congress in the history of the Congress. I've had to raise in fundraising in order to run and successfully win in my race. I am a high value target for the Democrats. This race, unfortunately, will be no different. So I need everyone to weigh in.
Wow.
Because if we want people to fight for us, we've got to back them and we've got to help them. I can only do my part, but I need people to help me financially. And so I need all of your viewers to give the very best donation that they can give. And I think the maximum is about $2,500 per person. But I need people to give their very best gift. And if they want to hold a fundraiser for me, they can. Go to MichelleBachmann.com. Around the country, they can hold fundraisers, and I can come into their city. And it's just very important. I want to be able to come back and stand for our liberties.
You can't not come back. Okay, guys. We cannot afford to lose Michele Bachmann in Congress. We can't. So whatever you can do, please, please send in $10. If you can send in $2,500, that would be awesome. But please don't take for granted that people like this don't need you, because as much as we need them, they need you too. So please, and I also want to do something. I want to make you an honorary PolitiChick, because you are the original PolitiChick. You're the very first person to get a T-shirt.
I'm so excited. How do I go from being honorary to being actual? I want to be a real PolitiChick.
You are the PolitiChick. You're my weird PolitiChicks.
I am highly honored. Thank you. I'll wear that with pride, and all my daughters too.
We'll send them all. We'll send them shirts.
Good. Oh, wonderful.
Just thank you again for everything you do. I just can't express it enough. What you've done for us and what you continue to do for us. It's
well, you know, we're all in it together.
I know.
We each have our part, and you guys do such a wonderful job. Thank you for expanding the net. And I really appreciate what you do to get women involved, because our lives are at stake. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you guys, thanks for watching this amazing special episode of PolitiChicks.tv. And keep watching. We are the right PC.